Heidi-ho, here we are, show number 77 of The Last Angry DJ. My name is Mitchell K.C. Hill, as it says below me. You know, if that didn't show up there, I wouldn't know who the heck I am. That's. Thank you. I'm getting to that point where if I don't look down and I don't see my name there, I have no idea who I am. But we're here, and we're here to talk about all things broadcasting, media, all those, what is it, like Iron Chef? It's like all that competitive stuff. Whatever the words that Alex says, it's all very interesting. Also, I'm thinking maybe we need to change the intro because it says that I'm teetering on the edge of sanity and a few other things. Maybe we just say that weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. Alex, do you remember that reference? You know what a weeble is?
You're going to have to explain it to me. I've heard it before, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
It's a toy. And they can sit on a little tabletop and you can smack them across the head and they lean over, but they never fall over. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
Well, let me pause the show, Mitch. Everybody stay there. I'm just going to do some research now.
Yeah, do that research. It's going to be fun. So we're here as the broadcast Weebles once again to talk about things like the media industry, things that really tighten my shorts, make me angry. But in order to get the show started, we have to refer to Mr. Alexander Knight.
That's me. Yes, good to be here, Mitch, for episode 77. It seems that we're fast encroaching on episode 100, and I think we're going to have to think about what we're going to do for that. But it's good to be here for episode 77 of The Last Angry DJ. This is the show that intersects old media versus new media, but unlike Iron Chef, it's not about whose industry reigns supreme. It's about discussing the ongoing challenges that we're all facing, whether you're into traditional terrestrial broadcast, maybe you're a radio station owner, you're a DJ, you work in sales, maybe you're a podcaster, you're creating stuff for YouTube, any kind of we're going to use the generic term content creator, which I know is a very overused term, but that applies to many, many people. And I'd like to also introduce Mark Giuliani is joining us on the panel. How's it going, Mark?
How are you, Alex? And Mitch, how are you doing? It's good to be here. We need some questions.
Fine, thank you.
Come on, everybody, write some questions to us.
Yeah, and what's that quick way again, Alex, to go in there and get those questions?
You can go to ask.thelastangrydj.com in your browser. You'll see it right there, ask.thelastangrydj.com. You can go there on your mobile device and log in and post your questions, vote on them. You can chat with us during the show. That is the best chat system for that, so please do that. And we look forward to seeing you.
That'll be great. Looking forward to it. And we talk about so many fun things, and we've had people tell us that they really like it when just the three of us are gathered talking, but we do have some guests lined up. Look for Lee Jacobs to be coming next month in, what is the month that follows August? I believe that's September. Alex is my fact checker. He's decided from now on he's going to get one of those little rubber mallets and hit me over the head whenever I can't remember something. Just bang me on the back of the head, and it'll force it forward. It's a new therapy that we can use here on the show. And one of the things that helps us get through our program are your questions. And as Alex and Mark both have asked, we don't mind your comments. You can comment as the show goes along. We just got a comment from Steven Stryker. He wants to know where my dog Loki is. I've changed his name to Sir Poopalot. Just in case anybody wants to know, when I refer to my dog, it's no longer Loki, it's Sir Poopalot. And if you're having a meal right now, I'm going to just gross you out. His butt looks like a yogurt dispenser, okay? Just want you to know that. I'm just getting that point. One of the things you don't, I know Mark has given me the face. Don't feed your dog pizza ever at 10 weeks old. It's a bad combination, and you will pay for it. So there you go. Yeah, that's the doggy, and then we got some other people popping in here. It's always good to see you. If you come in just to say hi, that's enough. Mark will jump in and say, so and so is here, and they're showing their respect, or they're leaving tips on the in the tip jar, which is always a good thing. So anyhow, getting on to our rundown of fun things to talk about. Alex, what's first up on our discussion list of things to expound about?
Yeah, first main topic that we wanted to talk about is immersive mix dialogue. So one of the things that we've been wanting to talk about for a while is how audio in modern programming is mixed. So whether it's TV shows, whether it's movies, now everything is mixed for immersive. Now that's kind of just a generic term. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but that basically can mean something as simple as a 5.1 surround setup, but it also can be various different flavors of Dolby Atmos as well. So we've probably heard of the trend over the last, I don't know, 5+ years. I think probably started with a lot of Christopher Nolan movies where dialogue in movies are getting pushed further and further down with sound effects being louder and louder and louder.
To what end?
We've seen this happen in TV shows as well, where now a lot of people will just leave the subtitles on because they don't understand what the actors are saying.
But why? Why are the directors doing this?
I don't know. I think there's one with Christopher Nolan. I know he's being very vocal that it is a creative choice, that he has decided that in some instances where maybe the dialogue isn't as important, he will push the dialogue down. I just don't agree with it. I like to know what people are saying. I mean, why put words on a page? If you can't, me watching your movie, if I can't understand it, why bother putting words on a page? To me, the dialogue is like sacrosanct. That's important. I should be able to interpret that. And I don't understand why they do that. And this is a problem now with all sorts of TV shows. And I think part of the problem too is that they're now mixing these shows, they're being mixed in these huge movie theaters for these incredible setups that nobody has. Nobody has these $500,000 Dolby Atmos setups in their living room, right?
I have a 100-channel SSL board sitting in my living room that allows me to mix all that stuff. And they have a perfect sound in that room, so they can afford to do that. But they forget the average Joe out there. Like in the old days, Alex, I'm sorry, I'm going off on a rant here. In the old days, we used to have a pair of Aurotone speakers in our big studio. So we could have a big Westlake monitor system in a recording studio. And you would always check him against these crappy Auratones. Now they use NS10M Yamahas, but Auratone speakers, little crappy speakers, just a single transducer on them. And they sounded like an AM radio, but what they did, what was unique, is they could take their gigantic mix for the room and play it on these tiny little Auratone speakers. And if they sounded good, then they're going to sound good anywhere. They can sound good on your AM radio. They can sound good in any particular room. Do you have one of those little reference speakers there, Alex? I noticed you're rummaging about your studio there. And there you go. That's basically what an Auratone is. Is that an actual Auratone or something just like it?
No, it's made by a company called Aventone, and it's a very limited frequency response speaker. It's got no low end. Like under 400 hertz.
But that's what you want. You want something like that.
It's just a single mono speaker that I can use to test my mixes on to see how they translate. And by the way, folding down to mono is very important now, because how many people just have a single mono source now? Right? So,
well, the average person could care less or even knows about 5.1, much less immersive or Dolby Atmos or all those other things. And yet the audio, the A1, for the movie when they're doing the final mix in their soundstage, they're all over that stuff because they're playing to all that, that subtlety. But people don't have that subtlety in their homes, stereo systems. In a movie theater, maybe sometimes a movie theater is hard to hear what's going on. I think it's two problems. I think it's a technical problem on how they have too many different styles of or methods of sending audio to multiple speakers in a room. And the other thing is the vocal coaches need to talk to people. Vocal fry, which Alex and I talk about incessantly, is sort of like the thing now. So when women are having a conversation together, it's that weird whispery vocal fry. I can barely decipher it, even if I could hear it perfectly. So that combined with bad mixing is a problem. You can't understand what's being said. Go ahead.
To be fair, Mitch, a lot of guys have that vocal fry problem.
All right.
A lot of guys. I will demonstrate it. I will demonstrate quickly. It's when they basically have no energy in their voice and they kind of just talk all down here, and that kind of croaky sort of voice. This is
Do they want to sound more masculine? Is that what's happening? Can't figure it out.
I don't know what it is, but it's just, I don't understand where you learn that, where you pick that up. It's incredibly frustrating. And I hear it on the radio now too, with a lot of 20-somethings now that are getting into the business. And I think to myself, when I'm listening to the station, I think, why should I listen to this? What happened to the incredibly well-trained people that had control over their voice? And, you know, a lot of them I know are not professionally trained, but they have a nice voice, and you just don't really hear that anymore.
Yeah, and you know, there have been different versions of what we call vocal fry today. Remember Valley Girls? When they used to, gag me with a spoon, you know, they would talk that with that weird lilting voice. That was hard to follow, and that was a thing for a time. And the other thing, there were early days, and I don't want to make this sound racist or anything, or feminist or whatever. Women, when they first got on doing news on the radio, started talking with this low voice. It was like this. We called it vocal compression, but they were, you know, Jessica Shavich used to talk like this. You would see them literally doing that. They were trying to make their voice sound more masculine or different. And it was like, I guess, but I don't understand what the objective is. So it's the same thing with vocal fry. I don't get it. I can't hear it. And the other thing is, and then I want to go to Mark so he can comment on it, is that a lot of these people that are mixing these sounds have no concept of what a mono-compatible mix is, because a lot of the systems have when you send out a stem for a mix of a show or movie or even a TV show, you send out multiple things. You send out a mono, you send 5.1, you send Atmos. Is they concentrate only on the Atmos or the high-end cool stuff, and they don't do a decent mono conversion. So what happens is it could be a major sporting event, and you can't hear the announcers' voices over the crowd noise. It's just unconscionable. So I'm with Alex on this. I think it's something that we need to complain about. We need to shine a little light on this, some compatibility. All things considered, make it work with mono first. If it works great with mono, then it's okay elsewhere. Well, again, in the old days when we played 45 records, a lot of the hits had a mono side and a stereo side, just because they were concerned that the stereo combination on an AM radio station wasn't, if you just had the cartridge hooked up wrong, it would phase out certain frequencies. So you get this really weird stereo mix out of it. It was happening all the time. I mean, that's the first thing I did when I went to work at a radio station. We had stereo cartridges on our turntables. I'd go in and check to make sure they had the right inputs. Otherwise, it was phasing out the center channel and just doing weird things to the music. So it doesn't take a lot of thought. It just takes consideration.
And that's one more
that's
thing.
All we're asking for.
One more thing before we go to Mark 2, I just want to announce that this is clearly such a big problem that you have companies like Apple that have decided that in software, for example, like on an Apple TV now, you can actually, when you're watching a show, they've added a new setting that says enhanced dialogue, right? Enhance the dialogue, because this is such a problem now, because Apple figured, well, if these guys are not going to fix it, we're just going to give users some kind of control and power over the audio. Now, I don't know the sorcery behind the scenes, how they're doing this, but it does work pretty well. And for Apple to add that feature, which I think is a great feature, really highlights the fact that I don't know if it's that they don't care about the average home theater and what it sounds like and what they have in there. I don't know what it is, but the problem doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. I know my parents watch TV shows with the subtitles on at all times. What about you, Mark? What do you think about this problem?
Well, you've touched a lot of different areas. So the first thing I'd say is, what devices are used to do most of the consumption? Is it really a big stereo system in a living room, or is it this? And if it's this, you probably got your headphones on, so that would tend to be stereo. I don't know how many of the systems are going to be able to do anything more than stereo. But what's interesting about all this is, for talk radio, we go mono because you don't need the stereo, and you get further reach with mono than you do stereo.
Why is that?
Interesting.
Why do you just get more reach?
It just goes further. At least the transmitters we have can kick it out further.
I can explain it. When you have multipath distortion, where the signal is bouncing off a building or something else and coming a little bit later on one channel. They tend to phase out. So it is the best scenario is to have your FM transmitter switch to mono when it doesn't need to have stereo, because you're right. Your reach is better because the intelligibility of it is strong. It's not the signal is stronger. It's just that your intelligibility of it is stronger. So it's yeah. Thank you for bringing it back to a radio subject, Mark. It's good that you do mono. And you know what? The average person can't tell. I used to have a radio station that was FM, and we broadcast mono, and nobody ever complained ever. It was just weird how it was. So it's good to hear you do that.
Well, Mitch, we have a question. We have a question
please.
for you.
Shoot.
What, from Jerry Hoyle in Wesley Chapel, North Carolina, what is the most memorable radio promotion Mitch was involved in?
Memorable and good, or memorable bad, or memorable I'm going to embarrass Mark with?
All of the above.
All right. Well, we did some crazy stunts to get, but we had a contest, and Ray Quinn, if you're watching, will get a kick out. Ray was my boss at the time. The Wham's Paint Your Body contest. And again, I admit that this was from the 70s, so it's not socially acceptable material. But we invited listeners to bring in their significant other or girlfriend dressed in a bikini, and they would paint them right there live at the shopping mall. And it was a wonderful promotion. Some of the artwork was amazing. Some of the canvases were amazing. It was a pretty crazy. And we gave away like a fiberglass dune buggy to the winner. But I'll never forget Ray Quinn. Ray's such an evil guy sometimes. I said, Ray, where's the paint? We're supposed to have paint. He said, I put it in the refrigerator. I'm trying to freeze the paint. And I'm like, why would you freeze the paint? Because when Ray started at the top painting down, some of the anatomical aspects of the bikini top became affected by the very cold paint. So I'm not proud to say that, but I'm just it's a pretty funny story that the paint was frozen in advance of the Paint Your Body contest. And what else did we do? We had a kiss-a-thon. That was a thing back in the day where couples would engage in a kiss. And we would watch them. We had the Guinness people there, and they would kiss each other. And believe it or not, people did it for a week at a time, having their lips attached to somebody else. And I believe we had bathroom breaks, but we gave away prizes. So kiss your body, paint your body, or kiss-a-thon, paint your body. What were some of the other crazy things? We used to give away, Mark, you'll love this one, car keys that would fit, I don't know, the car of the year. Maybe it was a Pinto or something like that. And we gave away all these keys. And then when we had the remote broadcast to give the car away, nobody's key fit the car. Apparently the key was defective, even the ones we gave away that were supposed to win. So that was a whoops moment.
That's not what happened. The general manager changed the lock on the car before he gave it away.
Maybe. We had to give the car away to charity in order to resolve that. So those are just some of the many crazy contests we get. Thanks for the question. Appreciate it. I can probably think of some even worse ones, where we didn't freeze the paint in advance, but I'll always remember the model. I'm totally in love with the model that I remember way back in my 70s.
Let me ask you this, Mitch. Did you guys ever give away, to your knowledge and recollection, did you ever give away a car that was just flat out a lemon? Like the engine dropped out the moment the guy turned the key and drove away.
Well, that would assume that we had, it was a conspiracy, that we'd planned it that way. The dune buggy that we gave away was a piece of crap. It was basically a modified Volkswagen with a fiberglass body on it. And the company that provided it to us did a great job. It was a company called Spitz Fiberglass that made the Volkswagen model that it was based on. And I don't know if you remember this. Again, this is another tidbit of history that some people may not remember. Spitz was famous for inventing a thing called clackers. And it was two plastic balls. They were made out of fiberglass with a string between them and a paddle that would go in between. And you would move the paddle up and down, and you would try to get the balls to clack back and forth. And if you got good at it, we'll kick, 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 like that. And it was a huge thing for a while until one of the fiberglass balls exploded and took somebody's eye out. So those are some of the things that went wrong in some of the contests we did. With all respect to the guys at Spitz Fiberglass, I think they're gone. They're not around to complain or sue me, but that was an unfortunate side effect of a very popular game that they had. So I hope that answered your question.
Steven Stryker has a comment about our audio, and not our audio, but when we were talking about audio. And he says, people are aging and lose high-frequency hearing. Also, 19 kilohertz pilot is off. You have more modulation. Radio is higher when 19 kilohertz pilot is off.
Okay, well, he's talking about the 19 kilohertz.
The signal-to-noise ratio is higher. Yeah.
Yeah, but the code, the frequency that goes out, the 19 kilohertz is a thing that tells your receiver to go to stereo mode. It's the pilot tone that basically does that. It doesn't make it any more powerful. It just makes it easier to understand. So it's not increasing the power or the deviance of the frequency. But yeah, he's essentially right. So am I. So that's how I'm saying it. So yeah, that's all fun. And Steve, I'm glad that you're still here, keeping an eye on things, keeping us on top of things. And what is the question? Oh, do we have another question?
Sure, we have another question.
I can't talk and read a question at the same time.
Okay, here we go. Hey, Mitch, what are the different formats of radio, and what demos are they intended to reach?
Oh, well, there's an unlimited number of different formats out there, certainly today, more so than yesterday. But I'll go from the most popular to the least popular, and there's an endless number of different ones out there. But the popular one is called CHR, or Hot AC, which is basically a hot version of CHR. CHR stands for Contemporary Hit Radio. It's mainly for pop radio. People are listening to the most popular songs. So it'd be like the top 30 or 40 songs. It's what we used to call top 40. So that's the top. Then there's what we were calling Hot AC, which is sort of a version of that has some of the rough edges wound off of it. Then there would be AC, Adult Contemporary, which is more for older people. It relates to the demographic age groups. And generally, you have to follow the money. So it used to be the 25 to 49 was kind of like the primary audience ratings that you wanted. So a top 40 radio station or CHR was the preferred format to work out there. And then, of course, there's country and there's talk and then there's news. And then there's other, various formats, heavy metal, rock, classic hits. Classic hits is sort of like a new term for oldies. There's a ton of different names and an endless number of different formats. Go to any college station. They have a very, very eclectic format of just about everything. But most radio stations want to have the same thing in a predictable fashion so that if you liked punk polkas, you knew you could always come to that station to hear punk polkas without having to be interrupted by some other wacky format that made no sense, like some college stations will do. So it's kind of hard to break it all down to all the formats that there are. But if you follow the money, you'll find the most popular ones. Again, CHR, Hot AC, AC, classic hits, classic media, classic oldies, which is, they're not making some of that music anymore. So they have to give it a name somewhere. So they do it over and over again. That's my best answer.
Okay, thanks for that. And Steven Stryker has come back with a link for those interested in the chat that talks about how few radio stations actually broadcast in mono. I guess I better read that.
Well, it makes sense.
We'll all have to read that.
Yeah, we all agree. I mean, we're not in stereo right now, are we, Alex?
We are. Absolutely we are.
Oh, no. So we're breaking our own rules. There we go. Is there a reason we should be in stereo? We don't broadcast stereo. We're not split on the screen like right now. I'd be in the center channel.
No, the only advantage of stereo is that let me think here for a second. Well, the only advantage is for the intro and the outro because the music is in stereo. So
okay,
the music would play in mono, which I'd prefer not to. So it doesn't really cost me anything more. It doesn't cost me more money to broadcast in stereo, so I'm going to broadcast in stereo.
Yeah, and plus we don't have the same considerations that a terrestrial RF radio station has. We don't have a pilot tone at 19 kilohertz or any of the, we don't have 100% modulation. Exactly. We do try to be a certain loudness level, and that is an area of concern because there's loudness wars going on YouTube too. How do we deal with that? Because I'm sure
there's a lot of processing involved to do that, and I don't want to really get into it. But yeah, there's multiple stages of compression and limiting to try to get it to a certain level that we need it to be, to make sure that we don't have digital overshoots above 0 dB FS, so that's full scale. And I try to keep the short-term loudness around 18 LUFS. It's really hard to get it up there without any kind of processing at all. YouTube wants to have program audio quite loud, which I don't necessarily subscribe to. They want your stuff coming in at -14, which is a measurement of the entire program audio of how we perceive, how human beings perceive audio. But -14 is quite a bit louder and more compressed, which I'm not a big fan of. So I just shoot for somewhere in the middle, and I've kind of settled on -18, somewhere right around there.
Yeah, I would be inclined, if I were doing it, and I'm not, Alex is completely in charge of our technical specifications, to use compression more than I would limiting, because limiting will artifact a little bit more than, like if you hit a limiter too hard, it does weird stuff. You can hear it snapping and crackling and clipping and stuff like that. RMS or compression tends to be a little more subtle. It's more like somebody were gain writing the levels. But the whole idea of what's considered to be too loud or too soft, I don't understand that battle going on. And the higher you get the volume, the chances are that you're going to clip. And like you say, a clip in digital is non-existent audio, and it does tend to artifact very quickly because you notice it. There's just nothing there. It goes to nothing. Analog used to it would soft limit and then go into full clip after a while. But on an AM radio station or FM station back in the analog days, which are kind of still around, you wouldn't notice those things quite so much. So there are things called listener fatigue. Some stations are processed too much, and they're loud, but they're annoying to listen to for any length of time. All kinds of research has been done on that, what sounds good, what does not. Back in the early days, they didn't have compression or limiting on it. They just had a guy running the board, sitting there watching the meters, like that. Imagine having that job.
So is YouTube asking people to be louder than radio, or is radio still louder than YouTube at 4?
Yeah, no, YouTube would be louder than radio, for sure.
Well, strangely, TV has a specification that the FCC has set for how loud you can be. It's, what is it, like 20 LUFS, something like that.
I don't know if it's how loud you can be, but they don't want the commercials to be loud. Everything has to be level.
It's part of that. It's part of it is about commercials, but it's certainly about a level. But here's what's weird. There's a specification that the FCC requires for television, but they don't do it for radio. That's what's crazy. There is no specific requirement for LUFS that the radio has to follow, other than the 100% modulation. You can't exceed your modulation levels on an AM or an FM station, but that's a different beast altogether. So it's a little bit of a Wild West again. Here we go.
Yeah.
What's considered to be loud and what's not.
And I have a question for Mark. Mark, do you know, to your knowledge, with your radio station, I know you're not the engineer there, but do you know if there's any, do you guys have any kind of target loudness specs? Is that monitored for what goes out to the broadcast?
Yes. So before it gets to the transmitter, it's going through a number of different pieces of equipment to make the sound be, there's some compression added. There's all kinds of things that adds to the signal to make sure that it has a good sound to it, that everybody seems level. And it's interesting because when we do streams and I do post on the streams, if I pull the audio from the radio station versus the audio from the equipment we use, like that goes through the cameras and stuff, if you look at those two different signals, the radio ones like this and the ones that we're recording on without touching them are all over the place. So it's interesting to see the difference.
Yeah, you have requirements on broadcast that you have to meet. You can't exceed a certain level. Like on AM, it's 105 or 110% modulation, positive moving waveforms. On FM, the loudness is also affecting the deviation of the signal, and that means you have a bandwidth that's so wide, and the higher the frequency, the more it's going to move through that deviation between upper and lower, and you can't exceed that, or you overmodulate, and then you're interfering with other stations with a co-channel interference and other things like that. And most radio stations have two main devices, sometimes only one device. They compress, or AGC, automatic gain control, and then they limit. And the limit is there to set the absolute maximums. The AGC is there to set the comfortable levels. And some of the devices made by our friends at Telos, Frank Foti, who's been a guest on the show, he makes he makes a device called an Omnia. And for $11,000 or $12,000, you can get an Omnia 11 and install that device in your radio station, and you can tweak it to your heart's content to be legal, illegal, or whatever else you want in between. And the other big competitor is Wheatstone. They have a Vorsys, I think it is, that's a processor for that. And the thing that you have up there, Alex, I'm not sure if that mastering limiter is for broadcast or for recordings.
Now, a lot of mastering engineers for music production use this thing. The reason why I wanted to show this is because it has, and I was thinking about buying a piece of gear.
We're not seeing it. There you go.
And you'll see it now. Sorry, just a second. The reason why I was thinking about getting this is because it has this really cool metering, and it does have a loudness, it does have a LUFS meter in it, and so you could set it to the limit that you want to work with, and this would allow me to even better control the program audio. I'd have to route it into this and then back out over Dante, but and you can even change the metering. If you look at this is made by Better Maker, so this is a piece of hardware, but it's got this digital screen. You can even change the metering styles, whether you want to see a LUFS meter, do you want to see a peak program meter? This is a K meter. That's another type of meter. And then you look, if you want VU meters, this is all digital because it's a screen. You can turn it into analog VU meters, which is pretty cool piece of hardware. It's about $2,500.
Yeah, VU stands for root mean square. It's generally considered to be the average analog level that you have over a period of time. And a lot of things, like I'm in the business of producing radio and television commercials, mainly on TV. I have to process the soundtrack to make sure that it meets the legal requirements of broadcast, because somebody like Comcast or NBC, Universal, whoever, they will refuse the recording that I give them if it exceeds certain limitations. So I have to run it through a thing that gives me the average LUFS over a period of time during the course of the thing, because LUFS are also not the instantaneous volume levels that you may have. It's over the period of the whole broadcast. So you'll end up getting a graph back that says, here you went a little loud, and here's... So you don't want to have to set everything just for that one time where it peaks a little too loud. You can go in there and adjust that peak on your timeline so that it doesn't have that, so the average level is a little more consistent, and you can set a more consistent average level. So it's a bit of an art. It's a black art, and it's different for everything. It's different for broadcast. It's different for social media. It's different for the recording industry, like Alex was showing. It's all different. Right now, the mastering labs at most record companies, they're just crushing the hell out of it. They're just going for loudness. They're not going for comfort or accuracy. They're just going, we want to be the loudest on the dial. And to me, that's just an absolute sin. Started in the early 90s, still continues to this day. It's just annoying as hell.
Okay, well, while we're on radio, before we get to the next segment, Alex, we have a question for you. How many radio stations are there in Canada?
You know, I did some research, and it appears, based on the last census data that I could find in 2022, is that if you factor in both commercial and non-commercial radio, so for example, campus radio stations, that sort of stuff, it's somewhere in the ballpark between 950 to a little over 1,000. So that gives you some idea of how many we have.
Yeah, what's interesting about that count is that there isn't an unlimited number of radio stations in Canada or here in the U.S., and the power levels are negotiated between the countries. Like we negotiate with Mexico to have certain power requirements. We probably have done the same thing with Canada. Canada is much more like we are here in the U.S. in terms of the power categories and classes of radio stations. So a lot of that will affect how many stations there can be. And I think they just get together in a big room and they decide, well, you can have 1,100 and you can have 2,000. In Mexico, they had radio stations that were in the millions of watts. You know, they would light up houses at the borderline. I guess because they just didn't participate in the requirements, excuse me. Apparently one of those Mexican stations just zapped me. Millions of watts that they had. In the United States, we have what are called clear channel stations on the AM dial, and they're 50,000 watts. There are very few, if any, that are over that on the AM side. On the FM side, it's like the classes are like 3,000, there might be 10,000, 50,000, and there's 100,000 watt stations. Depends what side of the Mississippi you are. Again, the reason for that is back in the day when they set all these levels is that west of the Mississippi, there's a lot more flat land that had to cover a lot larger geographic area. So their stations were allowed to be more powerful. Here on the East Coast, 10,000, 50,000 watts covers a lot of ground, across cities. So in New York, you'd be lucky to get more than a 10,000 watt station. To give you an example, in L.A., it's very, very crowded on the dial because at the time when radio stations were licensed to print money, they were trying to shoehorn as many as they could. The FCC, Federal Communications Commission, determines the requirements that you have to not have co-channel interference. So there's only so much space that you could fill in with radio stations. One of the traditionally big radio stations in L.A. was K-Earth or KISS, where Rick Dees worked. And KISS sat up on top of that mountain behind the Hollywood sign, only 3,000 watts, and yet it was like the number one radio station in L.A. Line of sight is the big deal. If you have an FM station, forget the height or the power. If you have a line of sight to everywhere you want to go, you're going to do really well. So, again,
one of the
a little bit of the magic. Yeah,
one of the things that's interesting about that is the fact that, like, our stations are rated at 6,000 watts, Class A's, but we don't send 6,000 watts up to the antenna because you have to take a calculation that determines how high is the antenna, and then it'll go. For instance, we put, I think, 2,800 watts out on one of them, but it equates to 6,000 watts because the antenna's so high up. It's like 430
Yeah, that's part of it. You're referring to ERP, effective radiated power, which is the ultimate limit to or extent of your power. And you get a gain from the antenna bays. You get a gain from the height. And like if your height above average terrain is a certain level, you don't need as much power to accomplish the same thing. So if I was in Mark's shoes and I had a choice between being a 6,000 watt station on a 100-foot tower and being a 3,000 watt station on a 400-foot tower, I'd take the 400-foot tower at 3,000 watts. Again, line of sight is the best way to go, and you can reduce it accordingly, as Mark has indicated. So it's a whole technical thing. I'm not a radio engineer by trade, but I know a lot of these simple facts about the way radio used to work, or it still does, for what it's worth. Any more questions on the radio side before we move on? Our next subject.
I think
what's
we're
next
ready
up on
to
our
go.
list? Okay, what's next up, Alex, on our list of things to talk about?
Yeah, our next topic that we need to discuss is street interviews, which this is one of yours, Mitch. So you thinking about getting into street interviews again and buying gear for that?
Well, you mentioned it last week. I was doing the first edition of Mitch's Beef of the Week. Yeah. And I was talking about something that bothers me that I see in everyday. The same thing what a comedian would do. Like Jerry Seinfeld's well known for seeing something that we see in everyday life and then bringing it up and saying, "Hey, this is silly behavior. Why do we deal with it?" Like Jerry will be in a doctor's office complaining about there's a sign on the wall that says no cell phones, and yet the people on the other side of the glass that are signing you in are yakking away on their cell phones. So what's the big deal? So that's a typical, Seinfeldian thing that he might go on. But anyhow, we were talking about my rant, and I'm going to talk about some more of those things today on Mitch's Beef of the Week. Alex was the one who suggested, you know, some of these encounters that you're having, Mitch, that are bringing up these beefs, need to be videotaped or taped and brought back as an actual interview. You know, ways like Jay Leno used to do, or Conan O'Brien. So we were trying to figure out, A, should we do it? There's a little bit of work involved in doing that, and B, what should I use to accomplish it? And do I need a staff of people to make that all happen? Because remember, it's just 3 people here making this show happen. And 3. Sorry, I held up 2 fingers. And who are the 3 people to make this show happen? Come on, you can. There they are. This is our staff, folks. So if and not the whole staff is here in the U.S. That's right. Some of them are over here. Some are over there. This one's in Canada over here. This one's down towards Washington, Alexandria, Virginia, wherever. So anyhow, we're trying to think, what should I use if I wanted to capture these moments? Maybe for insurance purposes, because I'm bound to get beat up by somebody at some point. And I suggested the DJI 3. The body cam, or whatever it's called, the nose cam.
One of those, yeah.
Anybody have a suggestion?
This is the perfect content for TikTok and Instagram. This type of thing. Like, this is this is a popular thing now. I'm sure you've noticed that, Mitch. There's a lot of people doing random street interviews. I think you could probably do a better job than most, because you have that experience. You know how to interview people, and you know how to make it entertaining. So I think, if you want to do it, I think you should do it.
A lot of the best interviewers, I'm here to tell you, have the stuff. It's a conspiracy. They have it planned out. They've already talked. You ever notice when they do like a car show and they go to buy a car and they knock on the door of the person that's selling the car, and the person comes out and says, "Hey, Mike, how are you? Nice to meet you." That person's already been talked to by the producers and mic'd and all that. It's just, they make it seem like it's some crazy little, he just happens to have a microphone on him that works with his camera. So anyhow, it requires a little bit thought behind it. Otherwise, it gets a little bit sloppy. But look at anything that happens in public, like a street fight or my dog barking. I don't know why he's yelling right now.
Hey, Mitch, what about this? What about getting one of these Osmo Pocket 3s?
I think that's the one.
Yeah,
I was talking to John Edelson about that.
This would be a good camera, because it's super lightweight, and it's got a 1-inch sensor, and it's a gimbal. This is kind of
what's it say? Osmo Pocket 3 for moving morons? Is that what it says? I can't read it.
That's exactly what it says. That's exactly
for moving morons. All right, good
job.
Oh, it says moments. Sorry, this is morons. Oh, nice. Oh, so you're going to buy one? What do they cost? Anybody know?
I don't know. I don't even see a price on here. Buy now. Let's find out.
Apparently my dog likes it, because you can hear him yelling downstairs. He's in a crate, by the way.
$519 US.
We're going to have to wait a while before I can make that happen.
But then
I have an expensive dog downstairs now.
Yeah, my question is, though, you're using the built-in mic on this thing. That I'm sure that's probably not going to sound particularly great.
I think that's what it's going to be, because I don't have the ability to manage, a boom mic and a producer's notepad, and I just want to have a camera in case something happens around me that's worth sharing. Have you noticed that if you go into public and something explosive happens near you, 2 people are arguing, there's a bar fight, everybody's got a camera all of a sudden. It's like UFOs. How come we don't have better UFO pictures? Everybody in the frickin' world has a camera that's pretty decent quality. So that's the way I'd go. I'd do that. And I would just carry it around with me, and if I saw something interesting or something that caught my attention, I'd grab it, and I'd be on the air. I apologize. My dog has started barking. I have no idea why.
Well, Stephen wants to see the dog. He's got in the chat, where's the dog?
Dog is downstairs in his crate. He's crate trained, but apparently he only has so much patience. If I had him in this room, I'd have to spend at least half my time supervising what he's chewing on, because he chews on everything. He's already taken out a keyboard, a computer, a number of other items in my house. Yesterday, I thought he ate a battery. There was a moment of concern there, because he had the wrapping and there was a loose battery lying on the floor, and I was like, oh my God, he swallowed a friggin' battery. What do I do now on a Saturday? I can run to the wellness center and have him x-rayed, and it'll turn out to be false, whatever. So anyhow, this is a ton of stuff. Let's make that a regular check back theme here on the show. where we're going to talk
Mitch,
about
I got an idea. I got an idea for
shoot.
you. What if you just get one of these DeWalt tool belts? And then you can be fully prepared. You can have a camera ready, you can have your microphone ready, and your field recorder all in a tool belt.
I think it'd be a great idea, and if you could stuff it full of $50 bills, that would be really handy in the process of doing that. I'll go anywhere.
You might have to do some
anything.
busking.
Busking? I'm not sure what that term means. Busking?
Busking means to perform out in the street for money.
You mean like a mime?
Do anything. Do something.
I have it in my genetic. My sister says I have comedy Tourette's, and I have it in my body that if I see something that I think is funny, I'll comment on it, and for the benefit of the people happening to be standing around. And usually I bust people up pretty good.
You don't play an instrument though, right? Your instrument's your voice, I guess.
Nothing. Yeah, that's it. That's nothing that you would want to talk about on the air. So anyhow. Yeah, I do. I think it would be interesting. It would be fun. Maybe it's my next big thing. It's like, my last words, as I fall over, stroking out, I've got the camera, Rosebud. That's it. And then I'm down. I'm out. Come on, Alex. You knew what that reference was. Anyhow, I'm not going to get a comment out of him. He's too busy pushing buttons. So anyhow, street interviews, yeah, okay. I'll give it some consideration. I'll make it a thing. And then I need a doggy cam.
And what's your beef of the week? We should move on to that.
Oh, we're going to talk about... Hold on, I got to do the big setup for it. You didn't give me a warning. Mitch's Beef of the Week brought to you by Arby's. We have the meats, and they have a great app for ordering food. So Beef of the Week, something I can comment on or talk about that... catches my fancy, and is certainly an open subject. The first one is car registration queues. Now, I've been warned that I need to explain what that is. Here in Delaware, we have to have our cars inspected every 1-2 years. And what happens is you go to this DMV area, and you drive through this little shack, and somebody tells you to apply the brakes, hit the left turn signal, right turn signals, windshield wipers, brake lights, headlights, high beams, and they tell you all at once, and you're trying to, it's a sobriety check. But anyhow, you do this thing, and then once you've passed that particular test, you drive up to this next queue, which is a line of cars, and there might be like 5 lanes, and you have to pick one of the lanes to get behind, and you have to immediate thought. Now, haven't you ever been at a queue where you had to decide, well, that one looks like it's going faster than that one, and maybe that's going to take too long? I have the distinction of no matter what I pick, no matter what visually is in front of me, there could be 3 people in one lane and 10 in the next. The 10's going to go by faster than the 3. So once I commit to one, I'm screwed. So my bitch is that I always pick what I think is the shortest line, and then it turns out that the ones on either side of me that are longer end up getting through the line a lot quicker. And there's something about that. There's something metaphysical going on here. I don't know what. Maybe it's a giant conspiracy. They have people in dark suits with binoculars saying, oh, there's Hill. Let's line him up. Okay, slow down. 3. Just let the next 4 people go through, and line number 7. Okay, fine. Yeah, he looks really upset. He's pounding the dashboards. That he's he's switching over to lane 4. All right, I'll slow that one down. Slow it way, way down now. Make the lane 2 go much quicker. That's what happened. I was in lane 3. And I was looking over to the lane next to me, which was a lot longer. The cars go through. I switch over to lane 3, and all of a sudden, a guy in an orange vest comes over and yells at me. Said, "We don't switch lanes in that." So that's my bitch about.
See, I have the opposite. I have the opposite problem. I'm usually pretty good at looking ahead and figuring out which one is the best, and usually that one ends up moving faster. Does that make you feel any better that I can figure that out?
No, it doesn't make me feel better at all. I mean, it just confirms that there's a dark shadow cast over me, no matter what decision I make. In spite
Mark
of what
looks frustrated.
Look, when you look up and there's 3 people in one lane and 10 in the other, one would think that the 3 people one's going to go faster, but not in my case. Go ahead, Mark.
This is a lot of grumpiness for a guy who has to go to the DMV once every 10 years. How often do you have to go in Delaware?
Every year.
Every
Depending how old
year?
your car is. I got 2 years this time around because I told the lady, I said, I
switched lanes a lot of times. I won't come back.
I switched lanes. I paid good money. There's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. There's something wrong here. I'm driving a nice car. I deserve better respect. I'm 71 years old. Damn it, I'm grumpy and I'm old. And I have a podcast. So if you don't believe me, then come on our podcast. Anyhow.
I think you might be living in the wrong place because we don't have anything like that here.
It's a metaverse thing.
We used to have, so we actually in Canada, or I should say specifically British Columbia, we used to have something called air care. So it's basically you would have to get your car inspected to ensure that it would conform to certain smog/pollution tests, right? And then they just abolished it, which was fantastic. So now it doesn't really matter how old your car is. Of course, if you have a car that's spewing all sorts of smoke,
you mean like Mark's
now
first
you don't
car?
Get it. It's not mandatory, but I'm
Mark,
glad
talk
that
about
they
your
abolished
GTO with the dual valve, no CAD catalytic converter. What is that car you had?
You had a nice car.
That
1969 Pontiac GTO with a HO motor in it, 400 motor, 4-speed Muncie M21 rock crusher, 410 gears in the rear end, would pass anything but a gas station. You know what GTO
and a registration for pollution control. I guess they didn't have it way back when.
They didn't have it back then.
They didn't stick a thing up your tailpipe and check you out?
No, none of that.
Okay.
No.
He was just lucky.
And it's just GTO, do you know what that stands for?
What?
Get the tools out. Or gas, tickets, and oil.
I just call him a goat.
Goat, that's right. That was the name for it. A goat. And if you're really lucky, you had a judge. You had the judge model.
Here come the judge. And you know what? The judge was named after the character Flip Wilson played on Laugh-In.
That's right.
Alex, do you remember Laugh-In with Rowan and Martin?
I know of the show. I never watched it.
The character played by Flip Wilson, and at one point, Sammy Davis Jr. Here come the judge. Here come the judge. Here come the judge. Here come the judge. And they got a car named after it, which was GTO. So you had a judge version?
Right. No, I did not. Did not have the judge version. Had a judge motor. Had a judge motor in it.
How many tickets did you get on that beast?
Too many. Too many.
Okay. Did your dad bail you out?
No.
He didn't encourage that kind of behavior?
He did not.
I just see the upstanding, businessman right here driving around in a big gas guzzling monster car that was polluting the atmosphere.
Yeah, but what was gas back then? Gas back then was cheap.
But you seem like such a nice guy, and here you are talking about your early years, how bad you were. Okay, good.
I didn't say anything about being bad. I just had a car.
How can you not be bad with a car like that? With an HO judge motor monster thing, whatever, pollution control. Did they have pollution control in Canada? Are you guys safe up there? Or just not enough people to cause trouble?
Like I said, we used to have something called air care, but they don't do that anymore. So you don't have to. By the way, I'm pretty sure that Mark, when he was in his, I guess Mark, you were what, in your 20s when you had that GTO? Is that right?
16. I bought it before I turned 16.
Because I think this was exactly what. I think this is exactly what Mark.
Go get him
with that car.
You know how many of those cars they
Dukes of Hazzard.
He was launching that thing.
They went through more of those cars.
That was a Dodge Charger.
Those frames are done every time they land.
That's a Dodge Charger, right?
Yeah, it's the wrong car, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah, okay, that's all right. I used to watch it, Daisy Dukes, and all the characters. Although my favorite were the movies with Burt Reynolds in it and Jackie Gleason. What were they? The series with the Trans Am. He used to do stuff. And then there was Cannonball.
Smokey and the Bandit?
Yeah, Smokey and the Bandit. Then there was the Cannonball Run series.
Yes,
they were done.
That's right.
They were good. All right,
Jerry
good.
Hoyle.
Right.
Jerry Hoyle had a 69 Olds 442.
That's a monster.
Yeah.
That definitely. The only problem with American muscle cars like that is that they on a straight line performance, they could probably kill just about anything out there. But, get them on a country road driving back and forth. You could beat them with a Volkswagen because they could handle better. These cars didn't handle. They just had that, live axle and leaf springs on it. And,
what did a 442 stand for?
I don't recall. It was the size of the engine?
4-speed, 4-barrel, dual exhaust.
How about that?
There you go.
I had a Ferrari 308. What did the 308 stand for?
308 stood for the size of the motor.
Essentially, 3 liters, 8 cylinders.
Cubic millimeters.
No, they didn't go that far down. Anyhow. All right, I notice our listeners are dropping off here, so let me move on to my next beef of the week.
We do have one question about radio from Jerry. Do you want to hear
I'm not done with my beef of the week. Let me finish my beef.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were.
Then we'll get back to Jerry Hoyle and his question. All right, plastic straws. I don't know what they're doing in Canada, but here they're outlawing plastic straws.
It's already done. They already did it.
They got to use these paper straws that turn into mush.
They suck. They disintegrate.
They literally suck. I mean, if you have like I had a black and white chocolate shake. Black and white shakes are best at a place called the Charcoal Pit here, and they gave me this wimpy, weak dick straw. And halfway through sucking the ice cream through, the straw collapsed and turned into...
that. Can you hear that sucking sound?
Yeah, it was sucking. It was like a Rush Limbaugh moment. And I said, why can't I just get a plastic straw? So I went to get something the other day, and I said, give me a plastic. And they said, we're not allowed to give that. They're literally not allowed to give out plastic straws, and for fear it will destroy the planet. One frickin' plastic straw will destroy the entire planet.
There's millions of people that are drinking out of a plastic straw. It adds up. I mean, we got rid of plastic straws a couple of years ago. We also got rid of plastic bags. They are illegal. You cannot, if you're a retail store, you cannot give anybody plastic. We all had to dispose of those bags, and now if you want a bag, you have to purchase for $2 a cloth reusable bag. $2.
Yeah, same thing here. We got the same problem.
Well, but there's no federal ban against plastic straws. It's all either state or city. So Wilmington or the state of Delaware has a ban on plastic straws.
Yeah, but to what ends? I mean, plastic straw is going to destroy the planet. Come on.
I think give me a break. I think we're reversing that course.
All right, thank you.
Mitch, bring your. Why don't you just buy your own plastic or buy a metal one? Bring your own friggin' straw. What's the big deal?
The ones that
buy a metal one. Buy a metal one.
The one with the little sleeve. So
exactly.
Bend it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like those.
Are cool. Or the ones that go around in circles.
Cardboard straw that collapses through a marvelous. First of all, milkshakes are expensive now. They're like $10 for a friggin' milkshake. I want a decent experience that goes along with it. So there we go. And anybody else? Any other comments about plastic straws and?
No, let's get to Jerry's question if we could, Mark.
All right, Jerry.
Make that active.
Jerry's question next, please.
Okay, Jerry Hoyle from North Carolina for Mark. Other than payroll, what is the most challenging aspect of managing a radio station? Well, let me just first say we have a really good team, so it is challenging. There's many different challenging aspects, but we have a good
free
team
radio
that handles it. I think the most challenging thing the entire team has right now is finding sales or marketing consultants is what we call them because they help market the businesses that are our clients. But trying to find people that actually are willing to go out and help build businesses has been our biggest challenge.
I think I could do something like that.
Hey, Mark, you know what? if in a parallel universe where you decided to hire me, and this is not a come on. I'm just saying, in a parallel universe, in some Marvel comic universe, yeah, that's it. He's making his face. And you hired me to do like the morning show. Okay, maybe it was a little bit talk, a little bit music, a little bit whatever. I would go out after my show and work with the sales department and put a face on the morning show in order to sell more airtime for the radio station, and also recommend other alternative means that the station represents, whether it's digital. I don't understand why more guys aren't doing that. Maybe they are, but I don't see it. So why isn't the talent going out and helping the sales department? Because that's where the rubber hits the road now, so to speak.
For the most part, the talent is, but the talent needs salespeople, and right now, that would be our biggest challenge is finding enough. I mean, we carry 2 right now. We usually carry 6.
And Mark, what are you looking for? What kind of qualifications? Like, if I was coming to, let's say, I work in sales right now, but I don't have any. I don't have any experience working at a radio station doing sales specifically for your industry. What kind of things are you looking for?
Mostly, we're looking for people that want to learn, that have a compassion for the industry, both radio or TV broadcasting, but also people that want to help other businesses become successful, because most of what we do is not so much be a radio station. That's one of the things we do, but we're also about building brands and making businesses better than what they've been. So we want to learn about the business, we want to understand the business, we want to learn about the business's competition, and we want to help the business owners grow. And so to do that, we need to understand, what are they doing and be able to measure that quantitatively to show how it's gotten better by doing different things. So we mostly want people that understand marketing.
And
how about if you put a drive-through window for WGMD on Rehoboth Avenue, and I could sit in that window and dispense marketing and advertising advice, people just drive up and say, "Okay, what's going on, Mitch?" And I would do that. That would be great. Just like a toll booth guy, except I'm dispensing. See, you're smiling like it's a joke. I think it's a great idea. Drive-through marketing advice.
I think that's a great idea. We'll talk off air.
Okay, I'm afraid of that conversation right now.
Well, Mark, if I ever need to change industries, I am in sales right now. You bet could hope.
Okay.
Last year. I sell PA equipment and audio related products, but I did pull in almost $500,000 in revenue for my current employer last year. So
how much did you declare out of that?
How much did I declare?
Yeah.
What do you mean? No, I make no commission.
Well, that's their mistake.
I know. I get nothing.
That was a complaint I had when I last did the morning show at the local radio station, is that I was being paid X number of dollars, and it wasn't the money. It was just the X dollars amount. And I said, wait a minute. I said, I took our station from second or third in the market. Not a big deal here, by the way. But I took it to first. I said, what do you think that is worth in dollars to the bottom line of this radio station? If somebody came to you as a sales guy and said, look, I can increase sales by $2 million, would you pay him $200,000? And they said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, well, guess what? What is my contribution to the station by bringing us to number one worth in millions of dollars to the station? Now, this is a few decades ago. And they said, X dollars. And I said, oh, well, I want a piece of that. And they're like, no way. And I said, why not? Because that's not how it's done. And I said, who makes these rules up? It just doesn't make any sense. It's just stupid. Now, maybe I was off base, Mark, making that observation, but it was something that to me was an inequity, and I just thought that maybe somebody has to stand up and say something about it. Do you think I'm off base?
Yes.
Okay.
There's no way you could bring that much money to a radio station. No.
Is that a challenge?
The problem is that everybody thinks they're bringing value to the radio station. So how do you please everyone? So when you go down to everybody's effort, it's very difficult to remain profitable and open if you pay everybody what they think they're worth. You just have to use industry standards and find people that understand that.
But I mean, for the sake of argument, I have to interrupt and say people who think what they're worth. I wasn't giving my advice as to what I thought I was worth. I was saying, what is it actually worth? If you bring in $1 million, let's say for even numbers, in extra sales because you're there, what's that worth to the station? Is it part of your job to do that? Yeah, I agree. It is part of your job to make the station as successful as it can. But why wouldn't you offer 10% of that or 5% of that increase?
There are different contract types that pay bonuses and percentages of sales as part of the compensation package.
Yeah, there might be a profit sharing agreement or something.
Well, not
There's
only
no
that.
profit sharing, not in radio.
That's not necessarily.
Well, hold on. Let him finish.
I mean, our
Wait a
whole
minute, you interrupted him.
I did.
our retirement program's all based on profit sharing. So it's not to say other stations do it. It's just the way that we've been set up. So the other issue is you've got general managers that are taking part of that quote. So if you come in and the general manager is supposed to get a certain percentage of the gross revenue of the station, and then all of a sudden you're bringing in that money, but you're not under their control, that general manager is still going to get part of that commission. So it gets very complicated very quickly. And all of a sudden the station starts to bleed money.
I agree. I mean, you're speaking from an owner of a station. You have a whole different set of circumstances and a perspective that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But it's just, again, it's an observation on my part. Now, today's world is a little bit different. The first thing, if I was working in this imaginary radio station in Marvel Comics that's owned by you, I would want to be the lowest paid personality that brought the most viewers or listeners to the station. Because then I know that I'd be fitting into a certain category that works in today's world. In today's world, you might be the highest paid guy that brings in the most people, but you're the first guy to get fired when they have to start cutting money. And we have radio friends that have to deal with that all the time. It's just the nature of the beast now, and I understand that. But it was just an observation I made 20 years ago when I was working at the station. I just thought it was an inequity that needed to be corrected. I didn't know where we were headed with all this, you know. I would have hung in there for a few more years had I known what was going to happen. So that's also probably why everything I'm saying now, it can and will be used against me in a future hiring in some world somewhere far, far away. So there we go. All right, that's the Mitch's Beef of the Week, brought to you by Arby's. Thank you, Arby's, for allowing us to beef about something. Let's connect that directly to our discussion about whether or not I should go out and do actual street interviews, or if I'm at the takeout at the Chuck Wagon or some other place, and I see plastic straws up there on the shelf gathering dust. I'm going to catch that on video and say, "Hey, how much for the plastic straws? I want the straws. They got to be plastic. I don't want to be sucking on them and have it collapse. It would be a calamity on my chocolate shake." So, any other suggestions for beefs? Please send them through our normal connection, ask.thelastangrydj.com. And for other types of contacts, here's Alex to tell you how to reach out and touch us. Alex.
Yeah, so you can reach us various different ways. I'm going to pop up a QR code over the screen here. You can enter our Discord community. If you scan that, just pull out your cell phone for just a quick sec. I'll leave it up there and give you a second to catch up. If you just scan that QR code, that'll invite you into our Discord community. We've got various channels there broken up into different topics. Anything you want to discuss. It doesn't have to be anything specifically about this show, but we could talk about movies or the industry or whatever you want to talk about, technology, that sort of stuff. It's a fun place to be, so we would recommend that you hit us up on Discord. You can also reach out to us on social media at The Last Angry DJ. And but I think that's probably Discord's probably the best place to go for that sort of thing.
Sure, thanks. And by the way, before we go, you said you haven't watched the whole thing yet, but for our media discussion, how did the Forbin project go?
Yeah, so last week I talked about watching Colossus the Forbin project. I have almost gotten through the entire movie, and I say that not because it's not a good movie. I was really tired last night. I got about an hour into it, and I'm very impressed. For those that haven't seen it, Colossus the Forbin Project is a science fiction movie that came out in 1970, and it's basically about this incredibly powerful supercomputer that the government puts online that basically is in charge of controlling the United States self-defense system effectively. But things go wrong, as you might imagine. So I don't want to spoil it. But I'm just going to say one thing that I thought was really interesting, and there are parallels to what we're dealing with now with artificial intelligence. I thought one thing that was really interesting is how, when we talk about artificial intelligence and how we interact with these tools, we talk about now the role of prompt engineering, right? And how very specific you need to be with your language when you speak with these things if you want to get the best possible results. And one of the things in the movie that the main character, Charles Forbin, actually says to the United States president, he says that he insists on being the person that interacts with the machine, because he said language is really, really critical, and precision is really, really critical in how you interact with this thing. And I thought that was fascinating, because that is so relevant now in 2025. How we interact with these models is incredibly important. And now this is becoming like a job of prompt engineer. And the better you are at prompting the AI, the better the results you get. But anyway, so far I'm really impressed with that movie. I think it was very ahead of its time for something that came out in 1970.
And the fact that it rings some bells that play true to today. Do you think they knew that when they shot that movie back in the 70s? Did they look in a crystal ball and figure what the next century will bring?
I just think they had some very good writers.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's some legit. I don't remember the exact follow. I mean, I did watch it way back when, and I can't re-see it because I have to buy the 4K version from wherever, and then I need a 4K machine to play it on. But we rely on Alex to report in. So next week you'll have a little more of the movie that you can tell us more about, and we'll put a warning there if there's any killer plot lines that we're going to destroy in the process. But it sounds like it's just repeating what might happen to us today. So where's the killers? You know, for what?
To be
and I agree
fair,
with you on the prompting thing.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't know how much that they put in to that. Well, in the story, I didn't hear anything about safeguards. I mean, the fact that, how much of this can I say without ruining the movie? The computer's total disregard for human life, it seems, is just so bizarre to me, because I think in 2025, with the way that we're engineering these systems now, we know enough that we would build these systems with safeguards, and we would teach it the value of human life. And to basically, in the movie, there's basically the computer tells someone to commit murder because that person is considered unnecessary, right? And so I just, the lack of, the disregard for human life is just kind of insane to me. Like, if you're building a computer like this, you would think you would build these safeguards into it.
Well, if you follow Asimov's rules about computers and robots, that they cannot harm themselves or harm humans, and I forget all the rules. You could probably repeat them verbatim. But it's interesting watching the Foundation series on Apple TV, because it involves a computer and a robot, and it is following Asimov's rules, except to a certain point. And then it takes somebody's head and goes like that. So how does it break the rules for that? I guess the interpretation of what those rules mean, and in the whether or not it's for most people versus the what's best for a few is not necessarily best for a lot, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of interpretation going on there, and a computer is going to be or a robot's going to be very literal about that. So I get that Mr. Forbin wants to be the one to ask the questions. And by the way, prompting might be the new college graduate degree you need, because you don't need to write code anymore. You need to be a good prompter. If you write good prompts, you're going to get good code back from the AI. So there we go. We'll look forward to hearing more about that in coming weeks. I want to thank you all for showing up for show number 77 of The Last Angry DJ. This is the broadcast Boffins version. I think we got one more before we bring our next guest in. We have a couple of guests lined up for next month in September. Should be fun. If you have any suggestions, as always, ask.thelastangrydj.com. Go right there, put it into Mukana. And also, we are interested in hearing who you'd like to see as a guest, or just general comments, whether or not me going out on the street with a camera is a very bad idea without safeguards involved. Mark's response is showing it all. He considers it to be a very dangerous thing. Go ahead, Mark, show him what you were just doing. He was, is it a bad idea? Yeah, there we go. I kind of like it because it is. I like Dan. Danger is my middle name. So thanks for joining us again on this show. We appreciate you being here. Again, be safe out there. Take care.